Welcome to the show. We're a little late today. We're laughing about a whole bunch of things, but I apologize for being a bit late. It's my fault. I just thought it was much earlier, and I was working away at something, looked up, and there it was, 2 p.m. Olga Lautman is here. This is the Trump Tyranny Tracker for September the 9th, Tuesday, September the 9th. We're looking at yesterday, which was day 232 in the Trump
Yeah.
administration. And there's a lot of authoritarian creep in our news today, which we'll go through today's show. Olga, how are you doing, just to start us off here today?
Good. Chugging away. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little overwhelmed by all the Epstein news, but there's a lot to cover, and that keeps me busy, and that's good news.
At
Let's
least we know the photo exists. So there you
Wow.
go.
Yeah, I mean, that's
You
quite
know,
interesting. The whole book is kind of fascinating. At 3 o'clock, Dean and I are actually going to do a special report. We're going to go through page by page of the entire book and look at all the different things in it, because it's not just that one page that's interesting. There's
yeah.
so much else in there that's fascinating. But to the Trump Tyranny Tracker for today, Kenneth Weinstein, a Hudson Institute conservative and former Trump ambassador nominee, has been named CBS News ombudsman after Paramount's merger with Skydance. This is concerning because the position was created under regulatory pressure following Trump's $20 billion lawsuit against CBS, which it settled for $16 million. It isn't about improving journalism standard. It's about installing political oversight in the newsrooms. And along with the other rumored, appointment of a CBS News president in Barry Weiss, this is a fundamental change to CBS News.
Yeah, and the troubling part is that you see again Trump using our agencies that we're paying for, to how you call it, pressure media, to launch these bullshit basically lawsuits against them and to try to take control of the media. And CBS is basically the first test case. You saw him cutting funding to NPR and PBS. So this is all problematic because, obviously, well, I mean, we don't have to imagine. Trump reminds us every day that media is, his number one enemy. Following Russia's playbook, which he's doing in every other way, naturally he's going to, look for ways to take over the media and to basically shut down any kind of outlets that report truth and try to install state-run media in the United States like in Russia.
I don't know much about Weinstein specifically, but I do know this looks a lot like what Orban did in Hungary. It's very much a similar kind of playbook where he's just occupying these formerly independent news organizations by using all these bullying tactics.
Yeah, and same thing, by the way, with the universities. They're putting people in oversight to see what they're teaching, what they're, as part of the settlements, who they're hiring, who they're admitting, what criteria they are using to admit, how they are handling, protest. So, I mean, you see him going after independent, institutions because the universities are by no means tied to the federal government, nor is independent media. And you see him going after these independent institutions. Kennedy centers and other cultures very big with dictators, and installing his subservience, to carry out his extremist agenda and to basically hijack these institutions.
Our second story, the Supreme Court's conservative majority just lifted restrictions on immigration stops in LA, allowing ICE to resume roving patrols that had previously swept up U.S. citizens. The ruling overturned a lower court order that barred stops based solely on race, language, job, or location. It essentially greenlights racial profiling by federal agents who've already demonstrated they can't distinguish between citizens and non-citizens. Now it's the color of your skin or the job you're holding or where you're looking for work that might determine whether you're suspicious or not.
Yeah, I mean, what the Supreme Court did, when you dig down in the deeper into yesterday's decision, basically they said that the case, by who it was brought didn't have merit and, you know, this is why they did this. But overall, the Supreme Court continues giving Trump wins, extending his powers and basically giving him king-like powers. And here you have the Supreme Court. I mean, even if it's for a day, green lighting racial profiling. I mean, we're going to have racial profiling on steroids. So if you have brown skin, if you're speaking Spanish, which you're allowed to do last time I checked in this country, you will be stopped. And they don't differentiate. We've had a lot of U.S. citizens caught up in this dragnet. And this is extremely problematic because this is coming from the highest court in the land. And I mean, it's just going to get worse. And, frankly, if I think the American citizens, at least at a minimum, who are involved need to push back, need to sue, and need to really take this government through the cleaners.
Yeah, this is reminiscent to me of apartheid South Africa and the passbooks that some people had to carry around with them in order to travel to other parts of the country that weren't, determined to be their homeland. That's what they had to do, show their papers, show their passbooks, to allow them to travel, allow them to be in certain areas. It certainly feels quite similar to
Yeah.
that.
And imagine I'm white, so I don't have to think about leaving with my passport at home.
Yeah.
Imagine every single person who has brown skin has to worry about, oh, let me walk around with my passport so I can easily identify I'm an American citizen. And they don't even care. Because, I mean, some of the ICE raids that I've documented where they have caught up American citizens, they're like, oh, this is fake paperwork. And I mean, they're not even acting professional. They're acting like complete thugs who don't even have, basic human respect and to speak properly with people.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Our third story, Trump and his allies are advancing what they're calling Project 2026, a comprehensive voter suppression agenda. They're demanding proof of citizenship to register, restricting mail ballots, exploiting uncertified voting machines, and pressing GOP states to gerrymander mid-decade. Simultaneously, they're weaponizing the federal power by gutting CISA and DOJ voting rights enforcement and floating emergency powers to police elections. So that last bit is quite concerning. They're floating emergency powers, but all of it combined doesn't augur well for next year's elections.
No, and what is interesting, this actually came from Mother Jones, and they put together a very good analysis on all the steps that are being taken to undermine our elections. So really, everyone should go read this piece from them. And it is extremely concerning because we're seeing him taking every single step to undermine next year's election, then try to rig it. I mean, from the man from 2015 who said if he didn't win, elections are rigged. The one, as with everything else, projecting something that he wants to do. So we are going to have to really, really push back. Look, the red states are anyway. I mean, we don't have to worry about the red states. We need to worry about the blue states and the purple state. So if you live in a blue state and a purple state, I mean, we need to really make sure that our officials are doing their job and pushing back against this federal overreach.
Two other stories left in the Tyranny Tracker today. Let's do this one. County sheriffs nationwide are striking deals with ICE to house immigrants in local jails, with Butler County, Ohio, devoting nearly half of its 860 beds. ICE reliance on jails has doubled under Trump now, holding about 7,100 detainees daily, many without criminal charges. This is an unusual thing. The sheriffs view this as being patriotic, but here it is, them deputizing these sheriffs as and the jails as ICE holding centers.
Yeah, and a reminder that if you do come into this country illegally, this is a civil case. And the fact that, this regime is taking all these steps to send people to overseas gulags, send them to, other third-party countries that have the worst human rights abuses or civil wars or whatever is happening. And the fact that they're throwing them into jails in the United States. I mean, this is not how our law is supposed to work. And, it's extremely concerning that they are really going to the local police, to sheriffs, using their facilities, deputizing local police officers and sheriffs. So something, as I keep saying, right now, immigrants are the test case, but you can bet if we don't push back, this will expand to go after all of us.
And finally, a segment we should probably call Venezuela War Watch. Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Caine, made a surprise trip to Puerto Rico as the Pentagon considers basing jets and warships there for expanded anti-cartel operations. The visit comes after Trump ordered a strike that killed 11 alleged Venezuelan traffickers with no evidence provided. 8 U.S. warships already patrol the Caribbean, so it's quite a big movement of arms and vessels, and now Air Force potentially to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, so I have been documenting with things to the tracker, and we discussed it a few weeks ago. I'm like, I
Mm,
don't think this is, you know, for an anti-cartel operation because I mean the amount of firepower that is being moved into the region. I mean, I watch enough Russian, buildup of military invasions to know that this is definitely not for cartels. And you see more and more provocative moves being made, including the U.S., you know, without evidence, carrying out summary executions. I mean, again, we went on about this last week. If you suspect there's a boat that is transporting drugs. First of all, that boat that they said, that it was going to Trinidad, then they changed their mind and they said it's coming to the US. You're supposed to stop the boat. You don't blow up the boat. You don't kill people because we don't know who these were. They could be, you know, uh they call it a fisherman. They could. We don't know. We don't have enough evidence. We haven't been provided evidence, and it's extremely dangerous, for the U.S. government to be going around in international waters and basically executing anyone that they just feel like executing. And then on top of it, I'm beyond like mind blown that our media is completely not focusing on this because you have the far right media in a concerted effort, and they are literally using identical tactics to Russia, laying the groundwork for an invasion and operations and regime change in Venezuela. The rest of our media is in la la land, and they're not saying a word to us. And I'd like to know when the U.S. government is going to tell us, that they are about to drag us into another war.
yeah.
Because I mean, Trump, promised to end all wars, and there'll be World War III if I don't win. And here you have him literally, basically taking preparations for either an invasion into Venezuela or, a regime change. And I think really the American people should know that this is what is happening.
Yeah, and war is the kind of thing that can really improve your favorability ratings if it's successful. And we should note that Venezuela is got ties to Russia, it's got ties to the Kremlin. So, this could be one of those wars that are more theater, but still war, but it's theater war, in order to make Trump look better, ultimately, and to gain some sort of victory. I mean, there's something in that, I think.
I would disagree only with the fact because Trump does have this obsession to remove Maduro
Mhm.
for a long time, and even after the insurrection, you still had a lot of Trump-aligned operatives, running around and trying to figure out a regime change. And this is going to be an Iran situation. There is absolutely no way Russia is going to align with after decades of having close ties to Maduro, moving nuclear weapons, with their permission, I believe it was in 2019, to an island off of Venezuela, and basically building a makeshift base to threaten us. I just don't see them agreeing with any of this. And I've actually been monitoring Russian chatter right now. They're just, they're not, and they don't believe anything is happening. They think this is for intimidation. But they've already issued statements and as well as China, condemning this. But I don't see Trump and Russia aligning at all on this, because Maduro, I mean, Russia, really, this is one of their close allies,
Yeah.
like with Iran.
Yeah, it's hard to see them doing it publicly, but maybe behind the scenes there's some sort of deal. But we'll agree to disagree on that because I know you have to go and I have to go. That is the Trump tyranny tracker today. You've got something coming up that you want to promote or? Um,
For anyone who hasn't seen, we put out the new chapter of our active measures series, Julie Roginski and I. And yesterday's chapter focuses really going deep into the Internet Research Agency, which was Russia's troll factory that was developed initially in preparation for Russia's invasion in 2014 of Ukraine. They simultaneously developed the Internet Research Agency and the Wagner mercenary group, to invade Ukraine and have plausible deniability and plus run their information warfare. And then it got shifted, repurposed to start attacking US and Europe. So we take a very deep dive into the Internet Research Agency and everything surrounding it, all the bots, trolls, top accounts that they use, the tactics they used, and what they morphed into after the Internet Research Agency was absorbed into now another agency.
Sounds really interesting. I'll take a look at that, and I hope everyone else does at the Unmasking Russia website. That is Olga's Substack. And always go to Olga's other Substack, which is TrumpTyrannyTracker.substack.com. And I'll be back in 33 minutes with Dean Blundell when we'll do a special report looking at the Epstein, that picture that came out of the Epstein 50th birthday book. But we'll go through every single page in that book, explaining some of the significant things that we found in there. That's coming up at 3 p.m. on narrative.org with myself and Dean Blundell. Thanks for being here on the Trump Tyranny Tracker. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition. Have a great one.
Bye.